Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Art of the Short Game, Tour-Tested Secrets for Getting Up and Down, by Stan Utley and Matthew Rudy, narrated by Barry Abrams. Publisher's Note: this audiobook includes bonus material. Please visit Tantor.com and type The Art of the Short Game into the search box. Follow the link to the book's page. Then, under the Supplemental Contents section, please enter the access code SHORT and then click the Unlock button to access the bonus material. The code should be entered in all lowercase letters. All images and instructional material referenced in this audiobook can be found in the bonus material. Forward by Peter Jacobson. Jay Haas has been a friend of mine for a long time, and early in 2003 we were paired together at the Buick Invitational in San Diego. Jay was really excited about his game and had a lot of great things to say about the putting and short game work he had been doing with Stan Utley. At that point, I had been headed toward becoming a part-time player on the PGA Tour, both because my outside business interests started taking up a lot more of my time and because I simply wasn't scoring as well as I wanted to. I was hitting the ball as well or better as I ever had, but my pitching, chipping, and putting just weren't competitive. I played 21 tournaments in 2002 and made just under $400,000. Still, the Champions Tour was a year away, so I knew I wanted to keep working on my game. Jay watched me hit it good but struggle for 2 rounds and miss the cut in San Diego, and he suggested that I give Stan a call. Stan cleared his schedule, and I went over to Scottsdale for a day to hear what he had to say. I'm really glad I made that trip. What Stan says about the short game makes sense. It matches what I had been working on in my full swing with my teacher, Jim Hardy, and Stan has a simple, no-nonsense way of getting his points across that clicked with me right away. We made some changes in my putting stroke, but the biggest overhaul came in how I pitched and chipped the ball. I had always made my money on the PGA Tour with my ball striking skills. After a few hours with Stan, it was as if I had a whole new golf game, from 50 yards in. One of the first things you learn as a tour player is to expect any changes you're making to your swing to take some time to feel comfortable. I was prepared to work at what Stan showed me before I saw results in my scores, but it didn't take long. Within a couple of months, I had back-to-back top 10 finishes at Harbortown and the Houston Open. But the best was yet to come in July. In Hartford, I shot 63 in the first round and led from start to finish, winning my first PGA Tour event since 1995. It's always a thrill to win, but doing it at age 49, when you think your next chance won't be until the Champions Tour, is really special. Coming down the stretch, I had a 1-shot lead and was facing a pitch shot from the rough on the 15th hole. Using the techniques Stan taught me, I hit it to 3 feet and made the putt. It was the shot that won the tournament for me, and one Stan will show you how to hit in Chapter 5. I joined the seniors in 2004 and was fortunate enough to win the U.S. Senior Open in my first try. My putting, pitching, and chipping is so much more solid now thanks to Stan, and he's actually helping me to make some tough decisions about how much time to spend playing golf and how much to devote to my off-the-course work. What does this mean for you? It's simple. Stan knows how to help you get better at the shots you use more than any others during a round of golf. That's the quickest and best way to lower your scores. And he knows how to help you feel confident over the shots that used to make you nervous. I know he did that for me, and I've been playing professionally for more than 30 years now. So listen to what Stan has to say here. You'll enjoy the game so much more, although the guys you take money from in your regular game might not appreciate it quite as much. Good luck. Peter Jacobson, 7-time PGA Tour winner, 2-time Champions Tour major winner, Portland, Oregon, September 15, 2006. Forward by Rob Akins, Years ago, when I first moved to Memphis, I was teaching at a local driving range. As I gave my lessons, I noticed a gentleman sitting on a bench behind me, watching me teach. He never said anything, but he'd come back every few weeks and sit in the same spot. After a few months, I finished my lesson and walked over to him and introduced myself. It was Frank Utley, Stan's father. Frank Utley told me he worked for the railroad, and he often had 8 or 10 hours to kill in Memphis before getting back on the train to go back home to Missouri. He had a couple of sons at home, Stan and his brother John, who played golf, and he was really into the game himself. Through Frank, I started teaching John, and pretty soon after that, I met Stan. We hit it off right away, and I've been a teacher and caddy to him, but I've been most fortunate to call him my friend. What's been amazing for me as a teacher has been to watch Stan do things that are so far above and beyond normal, both as a player and a teacher. As a tour player, Stan was challenged by not being able to hit it very far. He never hit it much more than 245 or 250 off the tee. He had to chip and putt way above average just to compete, and he did that. He played more than 10 years on tour and won the Chattanooga PGA Tour event as well as 3 Nike Tour events. The pressure was always on Stan's putter and wedges, but he always believed in his talent and that he could get it done that way. I have so much admiration for him and his will to succeed. Stan's liabilities in terms of power really pushed him to be great with the putter and wedges. He learned how to use his mind, and he showed me how powerful visualization can be in this game. I had been teaching Stan for several years when we decided that I'd caddy for him at some Nike Tour, now Nationwide Tour events in the summer of 1995. The week before we were going to get together, I looked in the paper Sunday morning and saw that Stan was in the middle of the pack at the Nike Louisiana Open. The phone rang, and it was Stan. He told me he was shaving because he wanted to look good in the pictures they took of the tournament winner. Stan had just gone to see a presentation from Tony Robbins and had literally walked over hot coals in a confidence-building exercise. The experience had really made an impression on him. I tried to think of a nice way to point out that he was pretty far behind, but he told me that a hurricane was coming in from the Gulf and he was going to walk on fire. Stan has always been an incredibly positive person and a person of deep faith. I kind of wrote off what he was saying that morning as Stan was pumping himself up. I went out fishing with my boys that day and didn't think much more about it. That night, the phone rings again, and it's Stan. He said he was out celebrating, which for him was ordering a grand slam at Denny's. He's a man of simple tastes. In howling wind, Stan went out and shot 62 to win the tournament by 2 shots over Keith Fergus. Only a handful of people broke par that day, but Stan said he walked on fire. Later that year, Stan took some time off when his daughter was born. He told me he was really concerned where he was on the Nike Tour money list because they didn't give out as many cards for the PGA Tour as they do now. We talked about it, and he decided that he needed to go out and win again to take the pressure off, so he could spend more time at home with his wife and daughter. So Stan went out there and won the Miami Valley event by 7 shots. He just decided he wasn't going to miss, and he only missed a few inside 20 feet for the week. He almost didn't worry about speed because he knew it was going in the hole. I was caddying for him at another event that summer when he pulled a shot badly into a greenside bunker. Instead of getting upset, he told me that that might be where he was meant to play the next shot from. He holed the bunker shot out. I use that story with the tour players I teach to emphasize how important concentration, calmness, and focus is to playing golf. I learned those lessons from Stan. Stan's one of the few people I've ever known who could play golf and look like he was never going to miss. For most players, they leave it at that and don't take it to the next level. But Stan went out and absorbed everything he could about the short game and sorted through it, deciding what would help him get even better and what wouldn't. He's always had incredibly strong convictions about his faith and about right and wrong, but you won't find somebody more open to new ideas and willing to listen to what you have to say. That combination of talent and the ability to listen and share is what makes Stan a special, special teacher. Not only is he going to be able to tell you how to do it, he's done it at the highest level, and he knows what it feels like, and he knows how to help you feel it. The magic of what he's telling you here is not just about technique, it's about teaching you how to see what he sees and giving you the tools to then execute the shot. There are a lot of books out there that'll tell you how to build a plane. Stan's gift is that he's going to show you how to fly it. Rob Akins, Director of Instruction, Spring Creek Ranch Golf Club, Top 50 Instructor, Golf Digest's America's 50 Greatest Teachers. Introduction. There's no doubt it's exciting to watch a guy like Tiger Woods bomb at 315 yards, taking it right over the corner of the dogleg and leaving himself a wedge into the green. I'm in just as much awe as the average guy is when I see him do that, and I've been a tour player myself for more than 20 years. But the truth is, most players are never going to be able to do what Tiger does with his driver. Heck, there might only be 3 or 4 guys on tour who can do what he does in terms of hitting the ball with power. But watch what Tiger does when he's 30 yards off the green and has a tough pitch to a tight pin. He's an artist on those short shots. How do I know that? Because that's how I made my career. I never averaged more than 270 yards off the tee. I was never the best ball striker on tour. In fact, when Fred Griffin charted my swing down at Grand Cypress, Dr. Ralph Mann, the guy who built the swing model that Fred used, walked by and said I looked like a pretty good 10 handicapper. I had already won on tour by then. I competed out there because of my short game and putting skills. Now I make my living teaching other players to use the fundamental skills I was fortunate enough to learn at an early age and that I relied on so heavily later in my career. With my ball striking, I never hit more than 10 or 11 greens around. Without a short game, I would have had to find a new line of work. I set the PGA Tour record for fewest putts for 9 holes, 6 at the 2002 Air Canada Championship. Everybody thinks that's a putting record, but what it really is a short game record. I missed a bunch of greens, but holed out 2 bunker shots, made a putt from the fringe, and left myself tap-ins on all my other chips. You might not be able to relate to Tiger Woods hitting the ball 300 yards on the fly, but I can promise you that you can relate to me. I probably hit only 10 or 11 greens per round during my PGA Tour career, but I earned money because I could get up and down. If you're a 10 or 15 handicapper, you're hitting between 3 and 7 greens per round. The rest of your score hinges on how well you can negotiate your chips, pitches, and bunker shots. You can cut a lot more strokes from your score by improving your short game than you can by adding 20 more yards to your tee shot. And you can do it with the coordination and instincts you already have. You need to be strong and flexible, and preferably 6'2", to bomb it off the tee. To have a good short game, you just have to understand and learn to apply the physics of how it works. In this book, you'll likely learn an entire different game than the one you've been playing, or, if you're a little older like I am, maybe even remember some old fundamentals you used to use. From 50 yards and in, you'll have a complete set of fundamental techniques that will give you a much greater arsenal of shots. You'll be able to see what kind of shot a certain situation calls for and have the ability to hit it. Just knowing what shot to play, a low running shot to a back corner pin or a lofted shot to a tight one, dramatically improves your chances of getting up and down. Knowing how to practice those kinds of shots so that you can see them and then execute them changes you from a 90 shooter to an 85 shooter over a weekend, and to somebody who can break 80 every once in a while before the summer is out. And that's with you hitting your full shots the same way you do now. You'll go from basically chipping and hoping, playing defense or out of fear with your short game, to going on offense and trying to hole some of those shots out with a confident plan. In fact, I'll bet that as your short game improves, your long game will get better too. Why? Because you will better understand how the swing works through impact, and the more confident you feel about your short game, the less fear you'll feel standing over your approach shots. Instead of trying to steer away from bunkers, you'll give them the proper respect, but not be too concerned if you have to play your way out of them. The art of the short game is broken down into 10 chapters. Chapter 1 will lay out the mindset you need to have a good short game. I'll show you how I see the options in front of me around the green. Chapter 2 covers the fundamentals of short game shots, and they're the same whether you're hitting a 50-yard pitch or a 20-foot chip. Chapter 3 is devoted to your equipment, finding the perfect lineup of wedges for your bag and your game, and the characteristics each of them needs to have for you to have maximum shot flexibility and consistency. In Chapter 4, I'll take you through the basics of chipping, your bread and butter shot. Chapter 5 takes you back from the hole a bit to learn the art of pitching, judging distance, making consistent contact, and getting up and down more often. We'll talk about the art of sand play in Chapter 6, how it's not nearly as hard as you think, and how you can make your ball check and stop, roll out, or land softly, all with a few simple adjustments in your setup. Everyone knows golf isn't usually about perfect lies, so Chapter 7 covers trouble shots, what to do when the ball is way above your feet or buried in the sand. Once you graduate from the basics, which will help you hit 90% of the shots you'll face on the course, you can move on to Chapter 8 and try some of the advanced shots I teach tour players. I'll talk about some of the things I've been working on with the tour players I teach, Darren Clarke, Peter Jacobson, and Jay Haas, among others. You'll see some amazing parallels between what they practice and what applies to your game. I've developed a complete set of drills to help any player get better around the green, and in Chapter 9, I'll show them to you. The last chapter, Chapter 10, offers a quick reference guide to the things we've learned along the way. It's an awesome feeling to hit it in there tight for birdie when you need to win a match. But I'll bet you'll get almost as much enjoyment out of rolling a tough chip up to tap-in range under pressure to beat your friends. Follow the advice in this book, and you'll be doing both soon enough. Good luck. Chapter 1: How to Save Your Score. Walking down the practice range at a PGA Tour event is a humbling experience. And that's just as true for an average player as it is for me. When you see the way a guy like Tiger Woods or Ernie Els hits the ball, with so much power and what seems like almost no effort, it's like he's playing a different game. Actually, those guys are playing a different game. Tiger, Ernie, and the longest hitters on the PGA Tour can carry the ball 300 yards with the driver. I don't know about you, but when I play a 450-yard par 4, I'm hitting way more than an 8 or 9 iron into the green. I'm probably hitting a hybrid club, even if I really catch my tee shot. It even sounds different when those guys hit it. The only problem with admiring those guys is this: you can practice forever using the best techniques and the best instruction available and get yourself into the best shape of your life, but 99% of you aren't ever going to be able to do what those guys can do. It's like hitting a 98-mile-per-hour fastball or throwing down a 360-degree dunk. Only a few people were born with the talent to do it. It's why they make the big money and play on television every weekend. But before you get discouraged, let me tell you where I come in. Some skills that tour players have are skills you can learn and apply to your own game. Tiger gets almost as much notoriety for his incredible touch around the green as he does for how far he can hit it. And it's that touch that's the difference between shooting 75 on a bad ball-striking day and scraping out a 71, or turning a smooth 68 into a 65. I know this firsthand, because I didn't make my living as a tour player for more than 20 years because of my ball striking. I did it on my short game and putting. I've never been a guy who could hit it tremendously far. Even now, with all the modern driver technology available, I'm happy to get it out there 270. But I was always able to save my score by getting up and down when I missed greens, and I missed a lot of them, and birdieing the par fives the old-fashioned way, by laying up and hitting a pitch shot in there tight. I can look back now and understand how I came about my strong short game. First, I was taught great fundamentals. I also had a drive to succeed. Just like the players at your club who always seem to win the big match, I found a way to get it into the hole, despite my lack of strong ball striking. Players who score understand how to control the flight, trajectory, and spin on short game shots, and can predict how the ball will react on the ground. I can definitely relate to the way you play golf. In my PGA Tour career, I probably averaged hitting 10 or 10.5 greens around. I wasn't a good ball striker. I had to make my score the same way you do, by saving par and working for my birdie opportunities. You've heard it before. A good short game is a valuable thing to have. But there is much more to it than simply understanding the mechanics of hitting a chip shot or a bunker shot. It's a lot more than just knowing how to hold it and what the motion for those shots looks like. I believe that understanding how the club works for every kind of short shot gives you so much more flexibility in what shots you play. Once you understand the how, you'll start to see possibilities around the green you hadn't even considered before. You'll feel comfortable with your choices, and you'll approach your short game from a whole different perspective. Instead of being anxious and just trying to get the ball on the green somewhere, you're going to hit those shots positively, with the intent to hit them close, and yes, make them. How do I know this? I've helped a lot of players, from the tour level to complete beginner, transform the way they approach the short game. And when you gain that confidence with your short game, it spreads throughout the rest of your game. You feel more relaxed on the tee and over your approach shot because you know you've got some margin for error and a comfort level if you miss the green. It also gets a lot more fun playing matches against your buddies. The hardest opponents to face are the guys who are a threat to get it up and down from everywhere. You're going to be one of those people. Just make sure to tell your friends to buy their own copies of this book when they ask. I believe my short game talent comes from the way I was brought up in the game. I was like a lot of other kids growing up in a small town. If there was daylight, I was out there playing something. Baseball, basketball, golf. The part I always loved about golf was that you could go out there by yourself and be totally responsible for what happened or didn't happen. I also loved to figure shots out on my own, with nobody else around, especially short game shots. Between my 9th and 10th grade years, they changed our little local course, West Plains Country Club, from 9 to 18 holes. One of the par fives on the old course was converted into a piece of the driving range, but the green from that hole was left as a practice target. I just wore out that green through my high school and college years, hitting thousands and thousands of shots into it. Pitch shots, chip shots, you name it. My dad took me to see a man named Ken Lanning, who was famous around my part of Missouri as a player and teacher, to learn the fundamentals. Mr. Lanning gave me the basics, and he sent me to see a guy named Jim Parkin in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, to learn the fundamentals of hitting wedge shots. Mr. Parkin taught me two fundamental things about the short game, pivoting and compressing the ball on the face of the club, that I've used ever since. And they're two things I'm going to hit again and again in this book. Mr. Parkin gave me a short game lesson, then sent me back to West Plains to practice what he taught me. I had an old Ben Hogan Special sand wedge, and that thing became my best friend. I'd hit 50 or 60 shots to that green, then go fix my ball marks. I'd pick the balls up and do it again, every day. By the end of the summer, if I wanted to hit a shot and make a kick to the left, I knew how to do that. If I wanted it to hit, check, and move right, I could do that. By the time the world came out with an L wedge, when I was in college, I said to myself, what do I need one of those for? I've already got all those shots with my sand wedge. Mr. Parkin taught me how a wedge worked. Armed with that information, I could hit any shot I wanted by putting the club in the right position to make it do what I wanted the ball to do. To me, golf was always, what did you shoot? I don't think I fixated on the fact that I didn't hit it as good or swing as pretty as the other players, but I do know that I was well into my college career at the University of Missouri before I realized that not everybody thought it was normal to get up and down 13 times during a round. When you're a little kid, or you can't hit it very far, you can't always get to every green in regulation. As I moved from high school to college and on into professional golf, I did improve as a ball striker, but because the courses kept getting tougher, I remained dependent on my short game. I always just chipped and putted and did what it took to shoot a score. I've always believed that you shouldn't be thinking about what you can't do or what you're not supposed to be able to do. You should be relentlessly playing to your strengths, putting yourself in position to do what you're good at, taking advantage of the skills you do have. I always seemed to have a feel for getting up and down. You too can increase your ability to shoot a score by applying the fundamentals you learn here. So much of golf instruction these days is about learning how to swing, how to hit full shots on a driving range and look good doing it. There's a place for that, for sure, but the game shouldn't become too much about technique. I actually think this is a problem at the PGA Tour level to a certain degree. I see some younger players out there who have just fantastic golf swings, but they mostly seem to go at it 100% on every swing. There's no finesse there, or any sense of feel about what kinds of shots work best in certain situations. Those guys can go low under good conditions, but struggle when they aren't swinging it perfect, or are confronted with something that requires a little creativity. Not to beat a dead horse, but that's why Tiger Woods is killing everybody right now. He's got a good swing, and he has all the shots, in both his long game and short game. And he knows how to scrape it around when he's not swinging good and save his score with his short game. That's the point of this game, right? Scoring. I hope what I'm going to show you in this book is athletic and natural, and not a connect-the-dots technique. When you try the things in this book, you're going to start out feeling like you're giving up control. You're going to be hitting mini shots with more speed on the club head than you've ever had before. That's going to be scary for a while, but it'll be liberating in the end. You hear tour players talk about feel and touch. You'll understand what that means and what that feels like when you finish this book. I'll never forget what a club pro told me when I was a college player. He told me he had kids lined up on the driving range who hit it better than me. I don't know if he meant that as a compliment or not, but the second part of that story was that all of those kids who hit it so good went out and shot 83. I was consistently breaking par with my swing. My senior year, I was second-team All-American. It's not about what it looks like, it's about what score you write down. Of course, the same thing that makes the short game accessible for the average player is what makes it so frustrating, too. It's definitely easier to accept hitting a bad shot from 200 yards away from a tough lie in the rough than it is from a perfect lie 10 yards off the green on nice, flat fringe. Even if you aren't very good with your short game, you'll still feel like you missed an opportunity if you stubbed that chip or bladed over the green. So much of that frustration comes from the fact that short game shots are usually hit with a small, controlled swing. You certainly don't have to be physically strong to have a good short game. It feels like something you ought to be able to do without too much practice or effort. But I'm sure you know what it feels like to over-control the club. You squeeze the grip so tight because you want to direct it through the grass. The result is some kind of awkward stab at the ball, and you end up moving it only a few feet. You're burning mad, and you probably have to hit another one of the same kind of shots. When you squeeze the life.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?